I'm going to pick up on some stuff related to what was in the most recent demo. So, in the spirit of trying to make things better for people who eventually use the compiler, I've got to sort of continue to make my way clearing out all known bugs. And it's not exactly a bug, but something came up earlier. So, say I want to make this enum that's these two things ORed together. That's totally legal, and that should work. It does. But if I put it up here, it won't work anymore. And we get a very, 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 it shouldn't work actually. And I'll explain why in a second, but we get a very unfriendly circular dependency message. So the question is, like ideally, nobody would ever see this message in final compiler things. But basically what this says is like, well, FD, or I don't know. I'll just explain what's actually happening, right? So this is saying these two things ORed together, FD or FH, right? And that's legal because it's not like C or C++ where you can only refer to earlier identifiers. You're supposed to be able to refer to anything, anywhere in the same scope. So, the problem is that with enums, you have these dependencies where FD, because we didn't give it a value, depends on the value of the previous guy, right? And FH does also. So FD depends on this guy, but this guy depends on FD. So it is just not well defined. It is a circular dependency, but it's a circular dependency that we should maybe be able to explain to people better. So there are two approaches. One is to generally improve the circular dependency reporting, and the other is just to write a specific thing for enums that says, like, look, you're referring to a later enum, and its definition depends on an earlier one. I'm going to do that latter approach, I think, because it's more tractable and because you can give people an error message that says exactly what's happening. But I think in the long term, we'll also need better circular dependency reporting because there's thousands of ways to make circular dependencies, and we won't be able to make custom error messages for all of them. So for this, just to make sure that that's the bug, right, I could do this. And in fact, that should be enough to make it work, I think, right? No. That's weird. Oh, because we never... Okay, the reason this doesn't work now, okay, I have to fix this first. I have to change the way enums are handled completely. So what's going on here now is it says, I'm not gonna compile this guy until this guy is done, basically, is what's happening. And I know exactly when I broke this. I broke it a couple days ago. So the tracking, there's two different problems here that have to be fixed, annoyingly. Okay, so the thing is, the enum has this thing called num members completed on it, And so if we're processing a declaration that belongs to an enum, then, you know, we look here and we just yield, we don't process it yet if the members completed has not reached us. That's a new thing that I put in, and it doesn't unfortunately work because of this situation. This should be able to compile. So really what I should do is just say include declaration and enum should flag these guys. Maybe they're already flagged appropriately in some way. And let's see. Okay, so we flag it already. So what we can do is instead of checking this num members completed, we can just say if it has, and if it doesn't have an expression, right? If it does have an expression, then there's no dependency. If it doesn't have an expression, then I need to see what index I am in the enums list. Okay, so found is asked enum scope members finds decal index assert found if index is greater than 0. So we should always include it if the index is equal to 0 because we're the first value and we don't care. If the index is greater than 0, then what we want to know is the guy before us not included? So if auto previous is asked enum scope.members this is problematic. The problem is there can be things in the members block can there? No. Okay, for now we're going to claim there cannot be anything in the members block besides enum members. That may not be true. So index -1, we're going to assert that this is a declaration. Okay, so if that is always going to be a static if. So we don't actually need this should include because we just yield. And if we didn't yield here, right? So Oh, slideshow is still running. Let's get rid of that. Build the compiler. 8062. I'm just giving it a shorter name there. Don't make me quit Steam by annoying me during the thing. All right, Vadanix, if you think that using null in 2018 is a bad idea, you're welcome to show me all the software you've written that's better than all the software that the people I know have written. Feel free to do that. Can't hear what? What? What do you mean you can't hear me? What do you mean? Is it just quiet? Hello? Hello? I don't know why that got turned down. Yeah, I didn't actually ever turn that down. That, like, Windows just auto turned that down for some reason. Kind of stupid, frankly. Better, but still not as usual. I guess I can keep trying to do this. I don't know how the volume on this microphone is supposed to work. The whole situation with Windows and microphones is a disaster. Okay, now we got numeric constant too big for type. That's weird. Declaration is trying to use the next value in an enum flag sequence, but we're out of flags. Oh, because it's 16-bit. Wait, what? Oh, the next enum value would have been. Okay, I'm not really sure. Not really sure why that's happening. Let me look at the code. I'm going to have to put a breakpoint there and look at what's going on. Because it shouldn't be trying to use the next value in the sequence. It should, because it has a right-hand side. You know what I'm saying? Let me look back at, before I run the debugger. So we just call include declaration in enum. So really that should only happen if the expression is not null, which it sure should be. Let's see what the hell's going on there. But we are out of flags. So maybe it's that one. Maybe it's that one. What the hell is it called? Demo flags unions. All right. So we're here. Oh, this is not an include declaration in enum. Interestingly, this is in number survives shift. Okay, this error message is just wrong. The error message shouldn't say it's trying to use the next E number. No, all right, so the number size is 16. I see. This error message is basically wrong in several ways, so let's go there. So first of all, the highest possible value. When I'm printing out the highest possible, okay, so first of all, it's not trying to use so the thing I was printing was the highest possible single flag, but I already said, like, hey, we let you OR values together in here. So really, it's this. Of course, this is not well defined in fucking C++ because they're idiots. All right. So why is this only specifically for flags? Enum value is too big for its type. The value is whatever. The limit is whatever. That, we don't care if it's flags or not. That shouldn't have anything to do with anything. Oh, wait. No, right. Because for non-flag enums, the reason I singled out flags, okay. Because non-flag enums necessarily check operator precedence for possible error. So how am I getting FH? Oh, I see. So what's going on now is FH is big, but we report this error first and we don't report the FH. So here we go. Yeah. So the reason is just, if I do this, it'll stay in the range. Yeah. And then I can put this back up here. And now it compiles. So that's good. Yeah, and now, so this is, the reason I wanted to fix this was to show that, like, hey, print will show special members and it won't show FD and FH, right? If it's sort of, print approaches these in the order that they're listed here, you know, and it'll, if you define multi-flag things, it'll prefer those, I guess is the point. Okay, so that's one thing fixed. I don't think that'll fix this other thing if I get rid of this, right? But let's check this in. So fixed one email-related problem. Yeah, shift looks the same as in C++. Yeah. All right. So now if I do this, it'll not work again, right? Whoops. No. That's not what I meant to do. Yeah. Okay. So this is a very ugly error message that is meant for compiler developers that isn't even that useful for me. It's definitely terrible if a user gets this. So we need to I need to decide where in the program and in what way is the best way to detect this situation. Is it in the loop that prints this kind of message? Or is it in the type checking for enum? Because maybe I can just notice the situation there, and it might be simpler to do that. Okay, in what I just put in the type checking was a thing that says I will yield if the guy right before me is not ready yet. Now I could then say when I'm about to yield, if the guy I'm waiting on is waiting on someone after me, try that. I'm going to try that. Actually, no, you know what? Let's not do it here. Let's reconstruct it back here. So what this is seeing here is, this is a visual picture of everybody who's not successfully compiling. And you see in the middle here is just F, D, E, F, G, and H are all waiting. And then this run directive is trying to run main, and main is waiting on one of the enums, right? So one thing I could do, I don't know if I want to do this right now, but one thing I could do is try to, like when you're printing out all the information of what's not compiling, the least you could do is get rid of the extraneous information. Like this and this doesn't really matter. What matters is that these enums can't resolve, and so not printing these would at least declutter the output somewhat. But yeah. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an error message filter. Like it would be good to clean that up. But for now, I'm going to write an error message filter that looks for this specific situation and just explains it to people, because that'll be good. So let's not do this. Where is this? It's in pipes.cpp for some reason. Okay. I'm going to make a new file for this. We're going to make an explain.h, which is just like void explain. Right. Okay. It's a bool. For all right. So what this is going to do is it just goes through all the stuff that's stuck, and we look if we can find an explanation for what's happening, an alternative explanation. If we do, then we say we handled it, otherwise we don't. Right, let's put this in a CPP file. And that's going to want to include some stuff. Because C++ is terrible. And then all right. So to make this compile, we will just say for now we don't explain. All right, so now if I run this, if I didn't make a stupid mistake, if this compiler ever finishes, then it'll be just the same as before. Yeah. So no improvement yet. It is not very often that I add a new file to the compiler, I will tell you that. Checking the chat now. Inspired you to just get started writing a compiler, and after having decided on most stuff and a week of coding, I now have a working compiler for static type languages, parametric polymorphism under 1,500 lines of code. Wrote a test synthesizer in it, and it runs real audio software. Yeah, no, it's cool. Like, it really, if you don't make things too complicated, you can really get a lot done. You know? So now we try to explain the thing. So I'm stuck on okay. This is not going to be quite right yet, but I just want to make it do something. Declaration is waiting on an enum in order to have a less convoluted error message, I want to use the names of these enum members. So this part may not work because this sort of relies on stuff in the type checker correctly reporting what it's stuck on, which it may not be doing. So we may have to go fix that as well. But report error decal. This guy is waiting. Requires the value of to be determined, but is waiting on how do I explain this stuff? Has its value auto-generated, but that generation depends on whatever itself. To fix this problem, give whatever a wow, this is going to be a pain in the butt. In my print function, I could just put 1 and 2 in all these and get it right, but here it's like a pain in the ass. Source name, target name, source name, target name, source name. What pain in the butt. What a pain in the butt. Gets, okay, we haven't declared that yet. Resolve declaration, that's an ident. All right, this still won't do anything, or it'll crash. No, okay. And the reason it doesn't do anything is because this now still doesn't do anything. Now, unfortunately, there are multiple ways all right. It could be that. Could be this. So now something might actually happen, although I suspect it won't. Nope. So now I want to see what's going on that I'm missing. So in here, let's put a breakpoint there. Okay, we got something. What is it? It's a declaration. Okay, we're waiting on FD. You know I belong to is equal declarations identifier, target declarations identifier. Oh! I'm just returning false here instead of true. So I did print this out. I'm not actually checking for the circularity yet, which is okay. Why are these putting the same value? Are these yielding on themselves accidentally? That's annoying. Okay, so the first thing is, if we explained what I just said return true. Why? My brain just isn't working. I swear I saw myself change that to true. Okay. So now, this is very bad because this is very bad. So set a breakpoint there. All right. He won't be sleeping on himself. So it'll be an identifier. No, it'll be a declaration. Why is he yielding? All right. I think this is just, he's not yielding on himself. He's not able to evaluate yet. So I suspect this still isn't going to work now. Yeah. So we didn't actually detect the situation that we wanted. Now, one thing is, we have a problem. We have a problem. The problem is that this special members guy is the issue. He is currently sleeping, and sleeping is a thing that was added to the compiler a while ago to improve performance. And we don't have a way of getting at sleeping people right now. They're not accessible globally. So I need to make them accessible globally. Now, of course, keeping in mind that things may be threaded eventually, I have to worry about that. Let me verify that that's actually the problem before I go do this. So the first, the first stuck on is going to be FD, right? Okay, so the problem is that Really, it's the guy before this that everybody's waiting on. So I can say this. I just want to inspect his scope dot members data common 9, and this guy will be in there somewhere. Special members right there. So if we go to his queued, he is sleeping on someone. Who's sleeping on him? Oh, the enum is. Interesting. Yeah. All right. So that is the problem. Although now I'm worried about this. Who's this? Special members. Right. So really, okay, in this explain enum circular dependency, the declaration part is not what we care about. It's just this. And what happens is we need to you'll see why I'm breaking this out into another procedure just now. It's not normally something I do early. The reason we're doing it is because if explain inter type sleeper return true, so we basically just want to do that. So, you know, we want to call, yeah, you see, we want to do all this. This is not just going to be this, it's going to be a bunch of attempted explanations eventually. So it's really not code that you want to paste right now. So that said, I don't have any first sleeper. I do believe we have next sleeper, right? So next sleeper, yeah. We already do that. What we do not do. Oh man, no, this is not good. It can't just be, the next sleeper arrays. All right. What we have to do is just, for now, we're just going to have an array of everybody who's sleeping. So it's just going to be like this. This is scaring me a little bit, but where does dependency pipe live? Is it in interp? Yeah. Oh. Wait, really? Oh, whatever. I'm just going to add. The problem with this is performance will reduce a little bit. But whatever. We're going to do what we can do there. Okay, so in this explain, I'm going to assert, since this is a new thing, I'm going to assert that it's really sleeping on somebody and we didn't get someone in there by accident. So now, when somebody goes to sleep, I need to edit this substantially. Let's just see if that even works. We haven't tried removing guys from there. Oh, it's not called current pipe index. It's called where's queued declared? It's an interp also. It's called pipe index. Well, I guess I should have tried that before I pasted it. Okay, and then I need to pass this there and there, and then of course everybody who calls these, which is probably from a macro, like there. hope that's only 3 places. Okay, so some other people are calling sleep yield, oh, just capital yield. Who the hell is do yield? What? Oh, the definition of bytecode builder is different. Okay, and pipes. Typer. Oh, I already have that. Okay. So clear sleepers is the only one. Yeah. All right. You know, in my explain, all right. So pipes line 112. We need to remove this from the sleepers array when it is unqueued, since now its pipe index is gone. Okay. Well, let's go do that. I don't know why unqueue and do rollback unqueue. Well, that's not bound to work, but who the hell knows? Didn't do anything. All right, well, how about if we even... Okay, what is... Hey, it's special guy. That's who we want. So this is an improvement. Even though it seems like we didn't do anything new, this is an improvement because now we actually see the guy that is the source of the problem. It's a declaration. It belongs to an enum, and we're trying to explain it. Did we get a stuck on? Yes. What is the type? Oh, it's a declaration. All right, well, maybe I shouldn't have. It is a different declaration. All right, well, maybe I need to just put this back. For some reason, I thought that wouldn't be necessary, but. Hey, special members requires the value of FD to be determined, but FD has its value auto-generated. I've got 2 comma buts. Auto-generated, but that generation depends on the value of special members itself. So no value can be decided to fix this problem. Obviously it's a problem. So just say to fix this, give FD a concrete value to someone. All right, we're getting there. Sometimes these things take a while, even though sometimes super dumb things just take some time, you know. Yeah. And then I will say interp report no label target decal. Here is the declaration of %s target name. Right? So, you know. Wait, why didn't it? Oh, here, okay. I don't draw the actual line for everything, but yeah. If you wanted to click on this in your debugger, it would put you on that line. It happens to be the very next line. So now we haven't done all the checking required to make sure that this is true. So really, there's a little bit more logic is required here. So basically, So the problem I have here is I'm looking for a loop among the enums that contains target decal. But the thing is, I may get to a loop that doesn't contain target decal, right? Like, and I don't want an infinite loop in that case. So I was going to just do this really dumb thing where I look at what people depend on and so forth. But I might have to do like a full-on graph theory thing here. That would be kind of crazy. Because like I want to detect the biggest loop. Okay, I have cycle detection here. That looks for simply connected components. But it's not like generic code, and given that it's C++, I'm not going to make it generic code. So there's this little stack-based thing that you do to detect simply connected components. And I don't remember offhand, it's pretty simple, but I don't remember offhand exactly how it works. And I don't know if I want to get into it today. And I don't want to make this code generic because that'll make it slower. And this code needs to be fast. So I would like paste it and make an alternative. Why is the chat getting super weird? Yeah, the chat is not some beacon of intellectual amazingness. I will say that. I'm going to get an iced tea while I think about if I want to go full graph theory on this or not, or just program something dumb. getting up to get a drink, and I know the answer. The answer is just, I'm going to do it the dumb way. And the reason I can do it the dumb way is I know how many members are in the enum. So that is the limit for how much I can loop. If I've looped more than that, then it's a loop that does not contain these guys. So I'm just going to do that. Arrow beings, Marty, pants, we could do some graph theory thing. We detect cycles instead we found our iteration times by the number of members in the enum. Is that what it's called? No members total. Okay. So, while loop check, if iteration count is greater than or equal to limit, return false. Iteration count plus. If loop check enum I belong to is, and I'll put that first. Okay. Auto stuck on is get stuck on expression. Loop check if bang stuck on return false. Loop check equals stuck on. If not target decal, original decal. Oh. I'm going to make a get stuck on declaration. Don't know why I deleted that. Obviously I need that. Alright, what happens? Well, we successfully didn't detect our cycle, so what's going on there? Okay, loop check. That should still be true. I bet this is the part that fails. Nope. It's stuck on itself, right? We remember that from before. This is probably just a problem in yielding, which I said before may not be correct. So let's call it declaration in enum. Right. So, okay, we want to yield previous here. We don't want to yield decal. What kind of stupid idea was that? All right, well, it still didn't work. Let's see why. Stuck on is still FD, right? Really? Did I? Oh. There's 3 ways that we could be stuck on something. I guess. Who the fuck knows what that's going to do? Hey, it worked. All right. Now, provided we can still compile the old things, I'm going to call that done. I mean, it'll get more thorough testing as time goes on. You see what we go through to just try and give people reasonable error messages? Do you see how much work that one error message was? Hopefully they're not all like that. Type mismatch in struct parameter 1. Oh God, right. We have an indeterminacy in something we're doing in the meta program for Sokoban. It doesn't work 100% of the time. I need to debug that at some point. All right. I think I want to do a little profiling today because, we fixed some bugs, and some of the bugs were in things that were supposed to make things go faster, and compile time has been creeping slowly upward, as it will for any compiler if you don't watch it and keep it low. So maybe I'll do that in a stream later today, like evening stream. Okay, so that works. And then the tests. Ooh, all right. Are there any questions about what happened there? Yeah, the chat is what it is. Progress did happen. It's true. Can I describe my thread system? Okay, when I say yield there, that's not actually a thread yield. None of that has anything to do with threading. That is, you can think of it as a cooperative multitasking yield where just one guy is evaluating and he says, oh, I'm done evaluating because I can't go any further. It's not threads, it's not fibers, it's not anything like that. Can you see the error output if there would be a loop? That's what it just was. There was a loop. Whoops, not that. That's the whole point, is there's a loop, and it's giving this error. We've shown that like 10 times now. That was... Do we have a way of systematically testing your parser? Not right now. We will probably make a fuzzer, which is a kind of a thing where you throw random input, maybe not completely random, but ingeniously designed to mostly parse and then, hopefully throw in curveballs that confuse the parser once in a while. So that is in the plan. Not really yet done. I'm checking some email really fast. How does truthiness work? Is only null and false false? No, null pointers are false, zero integers are false, empty strings are false, and I haven't, arrays don't test to bool right now, but when they do, I think empty arrays are probably going to be false because that makes sense. When will I replace the greater than with the actual line number in the error message? The line number is here. It's this. This is just showing context. I mean, I could put the line number there every time, but I'm not sure that's necessary. If you have a function that takes either flags or int and you pass 0, will it compile? Yes, I think. Pretty sure. Okay, so it's just a way to resolve mutual dependencies in processing. I need this thing to continue. I've got this thing now. Yeah, right. So the whole problem being solved is a problem that C++ does not have at all, right? Because it's not even trying, which is, You know, C++ insists that everything be defined before you try to use it in order, which is why the header file mess happens. And for this compiler, that is not required. But the result of that is that when you try to use something, it might not be ready yet. So, you know, you just gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, the struct value setting that's something I want to do all the time, right? So it's good to have that. It's good to have that. All right. Got some programming language emails from people. All right, well, is Casey one of the early adopters? I don't know, probably not, because he's got a bunch of his own projects going very seriously right now, and I doubt that he wants another side project using a totally, you know, different thing. So I've been assuming that he would not be. I don't know, maybe I should take a break, maybe I should keep going. Maybe I should play some frickin' video games. I don't know. Handmade Hero starting in 10 minutes. I don't know. Maybe I should start programming my own version of Handmade Hero right now. I'm sure everyone would be entertained by that. How do you know if you're working on something worthwhile? Look, you either know or you don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know how to explain that. 4 screen heights worth of template errors. That's what happens in C++. Absolutely, that is C++ for you, buddy. I guess I'll go on. I'll at least, there was one other circular dependency problem on my list, so I can at least look at that. Oh, there was also this instantiate and print thing that came up during the demo, but I'm not going to do that yet. Let me go back to the demo and let's get rid of that now. I'll make sure the demo compiles. All right. So let's do bug 56. Okay. Circular dependencies cannot be resolved. Stuck on no name is really not a helpful message. It looks like it's stuck on itself. Yeah. Yeah, it's a circular dependency error, but it's not really providing any useful information. So really, all it's doing, it's instantiating a polymorphic constructor. that's supposed to work just fine, right? So it uses a pointer to a thing. Yeah. I really couldn't tell you why this isn't working, so we have to just look. This should be well within the test case. I mean, maybe it's recent breakage. And we're looking for the old stuck on place. All right, so when we get here, I can set this test infer variable to true. And then that'll kick off this code right here. And we do the infer. And we see what we're stuck on. It's a declaration. I don't think this will tell us anything new, but yep. Well, let's see what it's doing here. This all should be fine. So we substituted a lambda. I believe expert type is going to be lambda. Yep. That's fine. So I want to look at, that's done being compiled. So I don't know what its problem is. Okay, this will be true. It's a constructor. Ah, this is the problem here maybe. Well, no, this is still fine. That'll be a lambda. Okay, so we're trying to polymorph the lambda. Right, this is the part that's going to fail. We're trying to polymorph the lambda to a constructor type, which means it takes a pointer as the first argument. Well, let's see what happens. This call.status stuff is some of the stuff that I mentioned that used to be an optimization that is now disabled because it wasn't working. Oh man, the sun is shining right in my face and I don't have a way to fix that. May have to leave eventually. All right. Okay. So we set up the arguments. So let's resolve potential overloads. We can continue. Okay, good. Wait, what? All right. I guess that's fine. That would only be for overloads. There are no overloads, there's just one. This is what's going to fail, right? So, success false. So, why? Why is it failing? Sort arguments, did that fail? No, good. This is what's going to fail, right? Polylambda is probably null, yep. So let's go back there. Drop in. It's not varargs. Okay, solve for matches. Non-looping. It's good because that's the simple case. If we had to debug the complicated case, that would be kind of gnarly. All right, let's look at these types. Type wanted is going to be a pointer to a polymorphic thing. Yep. Type given should be a pointer to a struct. Yes. I mean, this looks fine so far. Be false. So let's just see what happens here. They do match. Okay. There's no implementation test. Okay. That was fine. Let's look at what we got. Matches one. It says identifier T, expression, type definition. Well, I mean, we could look deeper into that, but at first glance, it's fine. Okay, wait. What? How was it true this time and false last time? The fuck? That could be a clue right there. Oh man, what? Right. Oh, wait, it's true. Oh no, it was the polymorph. That probably. Okay. It's that check for yield that is killing us, actually. I don't know. So why is this firing? Poly thing. So why is polything never compiling? Because it's waiting on the constructor. Oh God. Okay, I know what the problem is. If I make a very slight modification to this, if I just say that, I take the star out, it's going to work. Yeah. All it's doing is, so in this case, T is a pointer to something type, and in this case it's not. And that thing there is saying, hey, if this type is not inferred, then yield on it. And it can't be inferred because we're doing the constructor for this own type. So like, it's an overly conservative yield, and I don't know, man. The right way to solve this is actually a very big change to the compiler, but maybe it's time to do it. I am going to take a break, and I'm going to think about the right way to solve this, because it's again, so, you know, as I often say, more than half my problems in this compiler are things that C++ doesn't even try to do. Yet again, this is the out-of-order compilation model being hard to deal with. Although, yeah. I don't know why I do that check for yield, honestly. It doesn't. I must have done that for a good reason. So maybe part of the investigation is to disable that and see if anything breaks, and then figure out if there's a better solution. Oh yeah, that's going to be what I do. Yeah, I don't recommend allocating a memory for every token. You want to, if you make tokens out of your file that you're parsing, you want to reuse that memory. I mean, you could, like, it's probably not the worst thing to leave those tokens allocated because computers these days have so much memory, but there's not really a good reason to do that. Yeah, we tried to have handmade curtains, or we were supposed to have a guy come over and put some stuff up on the windows. But because it was Christmas break time, they flaked on us. So that was problematic. I don't know when I'll start up again. It's just I want some quiet time to think about this because it's a serious problem, and it's also just about time to take a break. And I just want to, I want to think about what to do. See what happens if I take this out. Fucking Visual Studio. If I take that out, then that works. Great. Question is, so if I run Sokoban with the debug compiler, do we have a problem? Not really. It does take substantially longer to build, though. Maybe. See how long this is? So check for yield might have just been an early out. I should have said that that's what it was. Yeah, so I seem to be able to, whoops. Let's do that with the debug compiler since that's the one that has this. Yeah. So it looks to me like that was an early out. Because if you try to polymorph the whole function and can't do it yet because some struct is not ready, that's like an expensive thing. So I was trying to avoid that expensive thing. I don't know. You know, if I do, I'm just gonna call that fixed because this code really is technically not right anyway. Like there is no requirement that that thing be inferred at that time. So let me just do that. Is that the only? Move matches into constants block. Well, that's certainly called from a few places. All right, I need to think about that. Well, That's interesting. Okay, this is troublesome. Well, we're going to have to do some digging. There's definitely was a bug there because that thing just didn't work. But I don't know if it's this bug that I just changed or if it's something totally different. That test fail was not funny, but I don't think it has to do with this yielding issue that I just did. Like, I don't see how it would. I don't know. I got things to think about. Oh, Abner's here, just popped in. Wanted to ask questions like, what if we use modify to prevent certain structs from using a procedure as a constructor? Which may be a wrong question. If you mean a modify on that procedure, it can't look at its own constructor because its type doesn't exist. So you wouldn't be able to do that through modify, because modify happens before the struct exists. So you could do that, you just would have to do it through the compile time meta program. It wouldn't be good to try to do it through modify. What if you use body text to create a slightly different procedure because of the struct that is using it as a constructor? You could do that. That would definitely work. Yeah. All right, so Abner, I don't know if you saw that test fail that I just saw. See if it's still in the scroll back. I don't think that that had anything to do with what I'm doing right now. But it would be worth, there we go. It's just at the top of my scroll back. I should enlarge my scroll back. So I had this thing, I didn't change the code at all, and I had this test explicit on init. Okay, wait, this is the uninitialized variables test. So there may be some, okay, what it looks like to me is that there's just a problem in the logic. So the problem is, it looks like you're saying assert that it's not equal to 9. First of all, if it's uninitialized, it could randomly be equal to 9, right? But in this case, it's actually nan. It's uninitialized and it's nan. But you can't say nan is not equal to 9 because nan does not compare, right? It'll fail any compare, I believe. I forget exactly what the semantics are, but if you say nan is not equal to 9, it's probably false, right? Even though you would think nan and 9 are different things. That's why nan is a little bit troublesome, actually, once it shows up. So I think actually what just happened was in this particular test, the uninitialized value got nan, and other times it doesn't. So I don't think that had anything to do with my change. It's worth looking at that and verifying it. But I think we can't really test uninitialized numbers. Like, it's just not, there's no way 100% of this time that this test would ever succeed because there could be anything in that memory location. So maybe we just can't test that. I don't know. Okay, that scared me for a second. So I'm going to call bug 56 fixed. But really, yeah, I'm going to want to do a performance pass sometime soon because it's getting a little slow. You know, 1.13 seconds is longer than I want it to take. It's faster on my laptop, for sure. Part of this may be, like Josh and maybe Abner have been adding all sorts of OpenGL constants to GL, which those are probably, like this is 900 lines now. There's just a lot of these, like OpenGL has a ton of these stupid constants, and every time we get one of these are actually handled much more expensively than you would want. So if I just did some kind of fast path for things that are bound to constant literals, that might make a file like this go much faster. But I would want to look at this and determine whether this is one of the slow files or whether it's somebody else. I don't actually know. So maybe we'll do that this evening. We're using them for the round tripping tests. I'm a little too delayed to know what you said you're using for the round tripping tests, but oh, I think you mean compile time metaprogram? I don't know. Is there a way to see how long each pass of the compiler takes? You know, sometimes, I mean, we print a little bit of that stuff out, right? There aren't really passes in the concrete way, but, you know, we do say front end versus back end, you know. Like, that's a distinction that makes sense. And this is the parser. The parser is only 42 milliseconds, so it's less than 10%, right? Because 42 would be 042, right? So it's less than 10% of the front end time. Perform loads is like everything involving loading the data from the files and putting it into a syntax tree. So, you know, people seem to think that parsing speed is an issue or something, but it's really not. 90% of the front end time is type checking and related data marshaling things. And a lot of that is probably, you know, resolving these order of compilation issues. Now, as for stuff that's in more detail, you know, I may run telemetry later today, and we might dive into that and take a look. Because I would at least, even if I don't do that much optimization today, it's maybe time to just take a look at what the performance looks like. Yeah, I'm kind of missing my fireplace right about now. All right, thanks everybody for stopping by. I'll resume later. I assume a couple hours from now or maybe later, I'm going to go get some tea and read a book and decompress for programming. And then we'll start up again later. See ya. See ya.